Close. Monsef? 10. They're $12 a piece. So the line in the movie, and this comes back to like unit price and lots of things that we're talking about. His wife is like $122. He goes, 10 pizzas at $12 a pizza. And then there's like tax, right? Or other things that take the pizza price up. So if you guys haven't figured this out, I kind of have like an addiction to pizza. I ate pizza on Saturday. Sorry, I already ate the leftovers, so my apologies. But does anyone remember how many people were in the house? So she then is giving Kevin a hard time, and she's like, there are this many people in the house, and you're the only one creating problems. Do you remember?
12.
Close, more than that actually. They then try to count like 12 kids or whatever when they do the count, and the neighbor messes up the count.
Aren't there like 15?
There are 15 people. So when we think about that pizza showing up, are they going to take the number of people and split them to the amount of pizza, or are they going to take the amount of pizza and split that to the amount of people?
Split.
Are we going to cut up people, or are we going to cut up pizza? Probably going to cut up pizza, unless, well, I'm not going to talk about, if any of you cut up people, I don't want to know about it. So we're going to take pizza. This should go on your graph paper. Guys, graph paper should start to be an everyday thing. So most days, we have a paper to pick up back there. Graph paper is like an everyday thing. So if they brought 10 pizzas, and there were 15 people, so I could write this division out like this. I could also write this out like this. There's a lot of bad four-letter words. I really do not like the word hate, because it feels like really strong, right? Like to hate something. I'm not going to use that here, but I really avoid long division as much as I can. I'm not going to use the H word with it, but go ahead. I can talk over it too, just don't push too hard. But I don't want to do this. I'm like a tiptoe away from saying that I hate long division. If you're secretly doing your homework right now, please stop, because like I'm teaching a lesson of stuff you probably need to know. Soul?
I have the answer.
I don't want the answer.
Nah.
How else could we write this? It's not just about the answer, it's about how do we get there. It's about the journey, not just the destination, Soul. How else could I write this? I'll let you help me with that if you want.
Could do that fraction.
A division is nothing more than just a fraction. Because a fraction is showing division. So if we are talking about 10 pizzas divided by 15 people, we could also set up the fraction 10 over 12. And then anytime we're dealing with fractions, we always want to, there's this word about like make it smaller, but it's going to be the same thing. Like it's going to be equal, but we're going to make it smaller. Anyone think of that R word, Mason? There's like recycle, reuse, but we're going to anyone? We're going to reduce this. We want smaller numbers. So if you want to make a note on your paper, if you couldn't remember the word reduce, when we go to, that's not how you spell that. When we go to reduce a fraction, we are dividing by the same thing on top and bottom. Turn to your neighbor and talk about what could 10 and 15, well, get 10 and 15 both divide by. Take like 10 seconds.
I have a question.
Yes.
If like this shows up on our home, like hypothetically, if it showed up on our homework.
So when it shows up on your homework.
When it shows up on our homework, will we be able to use a calculator?
Yes, but today in class, I don't think we need to, because I think we're good enough without it. But that's not me saying you will always, like on it. So first off, the easy answer, sorry, bad word, but I'm not talking about math. But the easy answer to give is, am I standing over top of you while you're doing your homework? So can you use a calculator if you choose to? Yeah, right? So like, I'm not really in charge of you while you're doing your homework, but knowing how to do the math, good if I grab a calculator to check the math I did. Great, but I need to know what to do because the calculator can't think for me, right? So like 10/15, if you put this in a calculator, you're going to get a gross decimal.
Ew.
And that's not what we want. We don't want to think about gross decimals that repeat forever. We'd rather reduce this and like, Sophie, what did you guys say we could divide by? We didn't come to a decision. Maybe Callum, what do you think? 10 and 15. We're going to divide both of them. The 15 won't divide by 2 nicely. Right? 10 could divide by 2. The 15 would not divide by 2 nicely. Monsef, what are you thinking? 5, Monsef says. I would show this work on your paper, because that's why we take notes, so we can look back at them. If we divide by 5 on top and bottom, what's 10 divided by 5?
2.
15 divided by 5? So what does this mean? What does this answer tell us? In this situation, you gonna do this? Or just watch. This is not a spectator sport. Okay, I'm just checking if you're gonna do this because you're sitting and staring instead of doing something. What does this mean? With 2/3, what? What 2/3? What, Jay? We took pizza and divided by people. I had 10 pizzas and 15 people. Mason?
2/3 pizza, 2 pizza, 2.
You could, what you were about to say, you could say.
Like 2 pizza over 3 people.
There are 2 pizzas for every 3 people. That is one way we could say this. 2 pizzas by, because we did pizzas over people. 2 pizzas, 3 people. Or, Link, how else could we say this?
There's 1 pizza for every. There's 1 pizza for every 2.5 people.
That is not true.
So like a human and a baby.
Each, Anna. Now, we'll get to the leftovers here in a second. 2/3 of a pizza per person for every single. So in that household, the McAllisters, each. Mason, can I ask why you're doing what you're doing? I know, but it's distracting and you're not paying attention to the lesson, so it's more than fidgeting, it's play. Guys, I'm trying real hard. Like, I'm just like let's level here. I'm trying real hard to ignore certain things that don't need addressed. And then when we address them with you, though, you get defensive. And I'm not talking about the Mason situation right now, but like when you're in a class, you're expected to be doing what's asked of you. I know you chose to come to Phoenix because we're a little different, but there's no difference in what's expected about when a teacher is taking notes and saying, write this down, you write it down. When we're doing things together and we ask you to talk with each other, you should be talking with each other. When we give you homework and it's due, it's due. And yet, like, half of us didn't turn in our homework last week. I'm a little worried we didn't turn in because it's not done. And then we end up in class again and you're not paying attention and then you don't know what to do because you didn't pay attention and you didn't do what we asked. We need to recalibrate. You are at school. There are certain expectations that go along with it. Does anyone have any confusion about classroom expectations? About like what goes and what doesn't? Okay. So I should not have to be telling people to stop trying to make a rubber pencil or stop, like, you know what's allowed and what's not. Quit making me tell you. It's embarrassing for both of us. This comes out, our pizza divided by people. We split up the pizza. We cut it up. Every person in this house can get 2/3 of a pizza. Do you think every person is going to eat 2/3 of a... Those pizzas were big. You think everyone's going to eat that much? Probably not. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't eat that much pizza. I love pizza, but I cannot eat that much. So let's talk about the leftovers. So let's say that we have 1 3/8 of a pizza left over. And my containers that I can put it in, like my leftovers, can fit 3 slices. So let's, on our paper, let's write this down. 1 3/8 of a pizza divided into 3/8 will fit into each container, so then I can bring it to school or whatever to eat for leftovers. Okay, so I've got my beautiful picture there. I topped that pizza myself. It is not Donato's, I'm sorry, there are not 150 pepperonis on there. By the way, we could debate best pizza place and all that stuff. We'll get to that when we do our statistics unit, where we do more like surveying. So if you guys want to fight about who has the best pizza, we can. We'll do that.
Donato's.
So
Yes.
we'll get there. We'll get there. So we have this written down on our paper, right? But we can see the picture of what 1 3/8 pizzas look like. What would be another way to talk about how much pizza we have left? Turn to your neighbor, take like 30 seconds to talk about how else could we talk about the amount of leftover pizza? Griffin, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that like, so if you split it, you can split it into 3 of the 3/8.
So I'm not looking for the answer. So to say again what I asked, what you guys are gonna have to get more used to, like, I don't want the answer, I want how do we get there. What I asked was how else could we look at what we have? So I'm gonna see if Brad, I'm guessing you probably thought the same thing as Griffin since you guys were talking. Isaac left. Mason, what did you guys think about the leftovers?
I literally just got this, but like, how would we like use the problem, right?
I mean, I'm not really worried about this right now. I'm more just looking over here and saying, how else could we look at that?
We could say we got like 2 halves and
Yeah,
2 halves, almost 2 halves of pizza.
it's getting a tiny bit more complicated, actually. You're right, but that's almost more complicated. Kyra, what are you thinking? For like how else we could talk about what we have left. 1 3/8 feels like a bit tough. What would that be then? So Kyra said if we make it into improper, what's 8 times 1? plus 3? So we have guys, we have 11 slices. Look at, you normally talk about pizza by slices, right? How many slices do we have left? 11. What can I fit into each of my containers? How much fits into each container? 3 slices, right? Sure, 3/8, but guys, really what we're talking about here, look up here real quick. Since we're taking 11/8 and dividing by 3/8, we do not need common denominators, but here we have common denominators. Watch. I should have like 15 sets of eyes on me right now. This is really taking your 11 slices, the 3 that fit into each container, and saying what we're doing is 11 divided by 3. We're trying to take 11 and split it up 3 to each container. So what is 11 divided by 3? Well, let's look at it. So 1 3/8, we just said it was 11/8 divided by 3/8, which we really said is really 11 divided by 3, or 11 over 3, or we're taking 11 slices, splitting it into 3 containers, containers of 3. Can 11 have 1 3 pull out of it? Yeah, I mean, we can see it right here. Second 3, now we're at 6. Right, third 3, now we've used up 9 of our slices. Can I fill my final leftover container? No. What did I want in my final leftover container? How many slices was I trying to put into it? 3. How many did I get? So my answer here really becomes, Griffin, you want to give it to us now?
You have 3 full containers and 2 leftover.
So it'll be 3 and 2
Eighths.
ooh, thirds. That's the trap door because the leftovers are saying, I only got 2 out of the 3 that I wanted in this container. So even though those slices are 8ths, it's not 2 8ths. It's 2/3 because my container is 2/3 full. Now that works out if we make common denominators, but we don't need to. So let me show you an easier way to do this that might get stuck in your head just a skosh. So let's say we had 2 1/4. What we want to do with division is take what we have, split it into what we want. Go ahead and write this down. I've got my same leftover containers. They still fit 3/8. Go ahead and write that down. We have division with a fraction. In Schoology, don't worry, I'm going to show that again. In Schoology, it keeps changing. We're in chapter 3, right? This is what we're about to talk about right now, keep, change, flip. But if I go into the folder, a couple videos here for you guys. Don't really have to do long division. You can just reduce. Oh, you guys aren't ready to come in on the. All right, so maybe you thought this was a little silly, but it'll help us remember it, and it gets a bit more fun as the video moves on. But there's another one in here in case that video is a bit too cheesy for you. This one has a great lead-in. Builds up that suspense.
It's a nice piano.
Right? So when you're doing your homework, if you struggle, come check out these videos for these reminders. I mean, or use homework help, obviously. All right, here we go.
You want to divide fractions and you're confused. Don't worry, Instructive Beat has a strategy to use. Keep, change, flip is what we do. Use it every time, it will work for you. Keep the first fraction exactly the same. See the division sign and change its name. Flip the last fraction on top of itself. Now multiply across. Do it yourself. You gotta keep, you gotta change, you gotta flip, you gotta keep, change, flip, you gotta keep, you gotta change, you gotta flip, you gotta keep, change, flip. Flip the first fraction exactly the same. See the division sign, change its name. Flip the last fraction on top of itself. Now multiply across. Do it yourself.
Do it yourself, they say. All right, let's do it ourselves. So the problem here is, do we have a fraction divided by a fraction? No, we got a mixed number, right? So Van, can you help me? What can I do to that mixed number to start? Do you know what we did to the last one to
Yeah.
start?
Turn it into an improper fraction.
Improper, right? So let's improper this thing. I like using words as verbs when they aren't really.
Who does it?
So what's 4 times 2? 8 plus 1?
9.
9/4. Notice that we're not in eighths right now. They're talking in fourths of the pizza. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 fourths, right? Divided by 3 eighths. So to divide by a fraction, here's a trick or a tip. Keep, change, flip. So, sorry, I don't like the word trick, and that's also not what they said. They said, here's a tip, because it rhymes better. All right, so Jay, you were with me.
Yeah.
What's this K tell us to do?
Keep.
So, do nothing, right? Essentially, just bring this down.
KFC.
What's the C tell us to do?
Change.
Anyone? Change to
Multiply.
multiplication. Everybody should be writing this down right now because it's exactly what you're going to be asked to do on your homework. So what's the F tell us to do?
Flip.
Flip. And then how do we multiply with fractions?
Across.
Straight across, right? Not like some of us get mixed up with across meaning diagonal. Straight through the top, straight through the bottom.
Part of the instruction, Lydia McCammon to the Perry
I
office.
don't even know what color to pick.
Lydia McCammon to the Perry office.
You read my mind.
Oh, jeez, that's a big number.
Haha, you read my mind.
What's 9 times 8?
72.
72 over 4 times 3?
12.
Guys, there is no shame in counting on your fingers. 12, 24,
36.
36,
48.
48, careful,
60.
60.
72.
This one works out perfect.
Yay!
So it's just 6. Yeah, you could set up 72, well, and you could, but I don't like that. I'm going to avoid the really intense word, but I don't like long division. Asher. I don't know what you mean. I'm going to come look at it, but we normally can only do that when we have a fraction equal to a fraction. So be careful. I think you broke a math rule and you lucked out this case that it came out right, but that's not how this works. Okay, so be careful. We use that. We use what you're talking about. Crap, I don't have the poster up. Because I got in trouble for how many posters I had on my wall last year. But what we're doing right now is this. Right, this is our current what we're doing. We're practicing keep, change, flip. Harrison?
What do you do when it's a negative?
Same thing. You just bring the negatives with you. So great question. Let's look at 91 that's on your paper. I think 91 is on your paper.
Yes, it is.
Check out 91A with your partner. Try to work all the way through that. I wouldn't necessarily try B yet, but A has 1 negative. Let me check what she did. So here you're allowed to cross cancel. So that's not quite the butterfly method. That's cross reducing, which is totally allowed. That is great. So that you just like saved yourself a step from us having to do like 88 over whatever that would have been, right? Then down here, unless you were just cross reducing. So here's the issue with how you're drawing. This is not how we should draw. Because what you're drawing, can I borrow your pencil, is like if we had 1 half equal to x over 4, we could do 2 times x, 1 times 4, and that shows that we're like multiplying like that. What you're trying to do here,
That would be negative 7. And then it would be
so here's where colors would help, and I'm going to use symbols. If I draw a triangle around this and a triangle around that, so divide by 3, divide by 3, that becomes 3, that becomes 1. Circle around this, circle around that, divide by 2, divide by 2. You could write it out, but actually divide by 4, right? This can become 1, that can become 2. So what you're doing is not the butterfly method. You are cross, like diagonal reducing. But again, here's where we're using a word cross. And we're not, if you get across, do you mean diagonal across? It's here, cross reducing is diagonal, right? So you're allowed to do what you think. Just don't draw. Does that make sense? Negative 2 and 1/8. Divided into thirds. first here?
I make the proper fraction improper.
Improper it. Again, let's use words like how they're not meant to be used. 2 times 8 plus 1. Hey, you're going to fall into the trapdoor if you don't listen. My extremely strong advice, you don't have to follow it, but my extremely strong advice is when you have a negative as part of a fraction, plant it in the numerator so it has somewhere to go. A lot of times when the book or the state test or whatever presents you a negative fraction or a negative mixed number, it's just out front. But guys, the 2 is not the only part that's negative here. The 1/8 is also negative. So negative 2 and 1/8 means the whole thing is negative. Let's talk about the improper, and then we'll put the negative on it. So 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17. So we get 17/8, but then it's negative. Let's put it in the numerator so we don't lose track of it. It also makes sure that you actually talk about it, because in the denominator, a lot of times we'll forget to say those things. I did not do more than one thing, because trying to do more than one thing at once is a great way to make a mistake. So now, Link, what can I do that I have fraction divided by fraction? To divide by a fraction, do you got a tip? Keep, change, flip. To divide by a fraction, here's a tip. Keep, change, flip. Yeah, I know, when you're like taking a shower later or something and you hear in your head, you're like, ah, it's math, get out. Like, so we keep the first one, we change to multiplication, we flip to 3 over 1. Then, Jay, what do I do now? We take a nap. Sorry, what now?
We multiply the third.
You know why you yawn? Has anyone explained this to you guys before?
It's your brain breathing.
It's your brain needing more oxygen. It's literally like, so one thing is like you're maybe not taking deep enough breaths, or maybe like you are tired, and like maybe you're tired and that's why you're not taking deep enough breaths, but it's literally like your brain saying, give me more oxygen.
Why are yawns contagious?
So this is where, okay, if you need to grab a calculator to do 17 times 3, that's fine. But don't forget the negative. This becomes negative, what, 17 times 3?
51.
Yeah.
Yes, I got it.
The 17s are fun. 8 times 1. Now hold on. A negative divided by a positive. What is our answer going to be? Negative or positive?
Negative.
Negative, because we only have one negative there. Then 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. I think that's where I should stop, right? So 8 times 6 is 48. So that's how we get 6. What do I do with that 48 though?
Fraction.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out our remainder, right? So then we get 3 6. So negative 6 and 3 6. What can that simplify?
Wait, how did we get out of 3? Wait, how did we get out of
Sorry, it's 3 8s. Why am I
Okay.
trying to do that?
Yeah,
Yes. Harrison, see me later. You owe me candy. I owe you candy. My B. That denominator should stay the same. I don't know where my brain started thinking 6. Negative 6 and 3 8s. Questions? Try B on your own and see if you maybe somewhat a bit more. By on your own, I mean like with your teammates. Without me.
Goodbye.
It's very interesting. That's improper.
Hey man, you're never too old for an imaginary friend.
Never.
I have a imaginary zebra friend named Gerald.
Who does?
No, he's he usually smokes for some reason. I don't know why. I started imagining him when I was like 6, and I was like, oh, hey, giraffe person.
When I was like 4, I was
Gerald.
Yes. Wait, is it giraffe or zebra?
He's a giraffe or a zebra. It's always how it's
When I was like
watch SNL?
Yes.
This sounds like Lonely Island, doesn't it?
It does. I don't watch much of it. I saw it.
Gotta keep, change, flip. You gotta keep. You gotta change. You gotta flip. All right, somebody help me so we can stop listening to that song. And my plan was to give you the last 5 minutes to work on homework. Jenny not here today. Jenny, feel better. Anna, what would I do first here? Ooh, yeah. And bring that negative with us. Put it on the top. Divided by, I don't think I need to do anything with the negative 2/5 aside from maybe just put the negative up top. Then, Asher, what can I do now? We still have like 7 minutes. I don't know what they're doing, but we got time. Now, so, and guys, sometimes in class when I call on you, you won't have done the same first step, but that's okay. But I heard a couple groups talking about this. We have a negative divided by a negative. And I'm going to keep my negatives right now, but you could, at the very beginning, what's a negative divided by a negative going to give us? You could think about this from the very beginning and make a mental note of like, this is going to be positive. But if I didn't, fraction divided by fraction, to divide by a fraction, here's a tip.
Keep, change, flip.
Keep, change, flip. Hey, it might be silly, but if it works, it works. So, keep. Ooh, so watch. Change. I'm going to flip it exactly how it is. So now, hold up. Now we get negative 35 over negative 8. I again have wound up with negative divided by negative. What is negative divided by negative going to give us? Link? Yeah, I only called on you because you're not paying attention. Pick up your pencil. We're doing math together. This is on your paper. This is 91 part B. Negative divided by negative, anyone?
Is positive.
Positive, like we just said up there. So get rid, like just forget about those negatives, or write this becomes positive. How many 8s in 35? 8, 16, 24, 32. So 4, and again 3 8s left over. Questions? If I was you, I would flip to the back of your paper, because that top problem on the back of your paper has you practicing keep, change, flip, and do it right now while it's fresh in your brain. You have 5 minutes. That's what I would do if I was you. If you do not get homework back, probably means you did not turn homework in. If you do not get homework back, likely means I did not get homework from you. Hopefully I get some homework from you this afternoon. No. So reminder, we only turn homework in after we've checked the answers on it. So like, normally I just default to turn your stuff in on Friday because I have the weekend to grade and like put stuff in math and everything. But once we check it, you can turn it in. So like if we get to checking 325 tomorrow, then you can turn it in. But until we check it, just hang on to it. Yep, until we check it, hang on to it. No Jenny, no Isaac. You're also getting your tests back tomorrow. I've been trying to get a couple other people who weren't here when we took it to get them to finish up. So you still got 3 more minutes to keep getting those problems done.